Hey, quick question. Do you know the pentatonic scale? I bet your answer was an immediate yes. But I've got to agree with my buddy Inigo here. I do not think you know what you think you know. Now don't get defensive. I'm saying this because I care. After decades of playing and teaching, I found that most intermediate guitar players don't really know the pentatonic scale. They just memorize some finger patterns. Maybe the biggest mistake intermediate players make is confusing familiarity with mastery. And that's why their solos end up sounding like random noodling or robotic exercises. I don't want you just noodling up and down patterns anymore. I want you to own the fretboard. So today I'm giving you 5 progressive challenges to find your pentatonic blind spots. And for everyone you miss, I'll show you how to practice it so you fill in that gap. So grab that guitar, let's get into it. Challenge number 1, we're going to test your familiarity with pentatonic scales. And this is basically testing what you've memorized. Of course, we have to memorize patterns before we can move on to higher level skills. But we want to make sure that even at the memorization level, we're practicing musically. So here's the challenge. Over a slow backing track in the key of C, we're going to play through all 5 patterns of A minor pentatonic, starting with pattern number 1 at the 5th position. Now we're going to play 16th notes, and that ought to be pretty easy because the track is only 66 beats per minute. Ascend and descend through each pattern. Then on the next downbeat, immediately move up to the next pattern on the neck. No hesitation. We're going to play all the way up the fretboard until we repeat pattern 1 at the 17th position. Play through it all the way smoothly, you get a point. If you stumble, you hesitate, you get lost, well, that means you got work to do. Let's give it a try. Here we go. So how'd you do? Hopefully you blew through that one with flying colors. Whether you did or not, here's a second level. This time through, we're going to play A minor pentatonic, but we're going to play it on 1 string at a time. We're going to play from the lowest available note on a string to the highest available note. We're going to be playing 8th notes this time, and we're going to move across all 6 strings without hesitation. Now this is a little tougher because it requires you to have internalized the structure of the pentatonic scale instead of just memorizing some finger patterns. Let's give this one a try. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you were able to handle that one. Lastly, there's a third level. There are 2 incredibly useful diagonal pentatonic patterns that not only move across the neck, but they move up and down the neck. They allow you to cover a lot of ground. Can you play them? Let's find out. And once again, we're going to ascend and descend through these 2 patterns in 16th notes. Here's a hint. The first one starts on G or the minor 7th. The second one starts on C or the minor 3rd. That's if we're still thinking of this scale as A minor pentatonic, and we'll talk about major and minor pentatonics in a moment. The goal is to play through the first scale cleanly and in time, and then on the next downbeat, start the second scale, play through it cleanly and in time. Try it with me. Here we go. All right, so there were 3 points available in our level 1 familiarity challenge, 1 point for each sub-challenge. This is pretty much just testing your memorization of patterns and asking you to play in time. And if you don't know all these patterns, the only way to get past that is to put in the work. There's no magic bullet. You've just got to commit to putting in enough reps to commit this stuff to memory. Hey, if this video is sending up some red flags that you need to do some more work on your pentatonic scales, this is just the kind of thing that I cover in my course called the Lead Guitar Roadmap. We also do deep dives into the major scale, seventh arpeggios, triads. It's a step-by-step approach at helping you master all of those topics and some others. If you want to check it out, there's a link in the description below, and as always, I appreciate your support. Now, if you breezed right through and got 3 points, or if you didn't, let's get on with challenge number 2. Challenge number 2 is going to test your fluency with pentatonic scales. Once you've got the patterns memorized, you got to move on to mixing things up. Moving between the patterns, combining shapes, getting used to moving them around the neck. This is all preparing to move your mind past just remembering where the notes are, and it's building the foundation for the more creative playing you're going to be doing in the future. For the first level, we're going to again play through all 5 box patterns, but this time through, we're going to ascend through a pattern and then shift up and descend through the next pattern like this. And once we've made it to the point where we've repeated pattern 1 up at the 17th position, we're going to turn around and descend down until we repeat pattern 1 at the 5th position again. Again, we're going to play 16th notes over the backing track. And to get the point, you got to move through the whole exercise without mistakes or hesitation. Ready? Let's do this. Well, that was actually pretty fun. It's also a lot of notes, so it's good for your focus. Now for the second level of our fluency challenge. We're going to mix up or integrate diagonal and box patterns so we can cover the entire length of the neck. I remember first learning this as a young player and thinking I had conquered the world. So if we start on the G on the low E string and ascend through the first diagonal A minor pattern, we can then descend through A minor box pattern number 3. If we shift positions, we start on a C note and we can play the second diagonal pattern. And then we shift up and descend through A minor box pattern 1. Then we can shift back down to G and play that first diagonal pattern again. And we are all the way up to the 22nd fret and out of frets. Once again, we're going to play 16th notes, and if you can play the exercise the whole way through, you get a point. Let's give this one a try. So hopefully you scored 2 points. If you didn't, it's a signal that you haven't moved past just memorizing and you need to start practicing differently. If you struggle with level 1 of this challenge, start by just combining 2 patterns, like the first pattern and the second pattern. Get to the point where you can move between them easily, mixing up ascending and descending. Then move on to patterns 2 and 3 and so on and so on. For level 2, it's all about getting familiar enough with the diagonal patterns to see how they move through and fit in with the box patterns. You can practice that part of the challenge in pieces. Get each part of the exercise down first and then start to connect them. Once again, it's all about doing the reps. Let's move on to challenge number 3. This one is all about the freedom that you have playing pentatonics. Level 1 of this challenge, we're going to play a phrase on just 3 strings at a time, starting on the G string. You might find that starting on a non-root note can change everything. So in pattern 1, we're going to play from the C on the G string up to the C on the high E, again in 16th notes, and then descend. Once we hit that bottom note, we've got a split second to move our starting point down to the D string, then the A string, then the low E. Once we finish that pattern, we're going to shift to the next pattern, do the same thing, and run that phrase cleanly through all 5 patterns, all the way up the neck. You get a point. I'll play through the first 2 patterns to show you how it's done. Here we go. All right, level 2 of this challenge is going to require even more brain power. We're keeping that 3-string phrase, but instead of moving vertically across the string sets, we're going to move all the way up on the same string sets through all 5 patterns. And to make it even a little trickier, we're going to jump over patterns. We're going to skip patterns as we move. So here's the sequence. We play the phrase in pattern 1. Immediately jump to pattern 3. Drop back to pattern 2. Jump all the way up to pattern 4. The exercise over when we played pattern 4 and jumped up to play pattern 1 at the 17th position again. To keep the video a little shorter, I'm just going to demonstrate on the top 3 strings, but ultimately I want you to finish those 3 strings and then keep moving it across the entire fretboard. Ready? Let's try it. So how'd you do? Now, if you stumbled, I want you to remember, hesitation is your red flag. That split second where your brain freezes, well, it identifies a weak spot that you need to isolate and smooth out. Get your points marked down. Let's move on to challenge 4. Challenge 4, it's about application, and that's your ability to move your ideas freely and without hesitation around the fretboard. In level 1, we're going to play this simple pentatonic lick with the notes E, G, A, C, A, G, E, G, and E. So the first 8 notes are 16th notes, and on that last E, we're going to hold it for a half note. And to get a point, you have to start and play it in 6 different spots on the neck. If you hesitate, that's a fail. If you get lost, that's a fail. I'll play through it to get you started. Try it with me if you're ready. So did you do okay? Level 2 gets a little tougher yet. We're going to switch to a simple 1-4-5 backing track in the key of C major, because we've got to know our major pentatonics also, right? So over backing track with the chords C, F, and G, you're going to start and stay in one position, but you're going to switch the pentatonic scale that you play to match the underlying chords as they change. Use 16th notes, and for a little extra challenge, I'm going to ask you to always end on a chord tone, which may require you to add an extra note at the end of the phrase. Get through all 5 positions, 3 scales of position, in on a chord tone each time. That gets you a point. I'll play through all 5 positions now. Here we go. Now, I hope you're still with me because we're really getting into some good stuff. You're having to adapt what you previously just memorized. You're having to synthesize solutions on the fly. It's just a far deeper way of actually knowing a concept, which is the entire point of this video. I'm trying to show you what you need to do to become a more advanced player and to achieve freedom on the fretboard. And that, my friends, takes us to challenge number 5. And challenge number 5 is all about artistry, which is the ultimate ability to express ourselves musically. To get to this level, finding notes has got to be something that happens automatically so our brain can focus on being creative. In level number 1 of this challenge, we're going to go back to box patterns, but with a massive twist. We'll be playing eighth note triplets at 100 beats a minute, and the task, start in box 1 of A minor pentatonic and ascend. But when we hit that highest note on the E string, we've got to instantly switch gears and descend through A major pentatonic. And our goal is do this smoothly and continuously through all 5 positions. Now they sit right on top of each other in each position, but switching up that tonality midstream, it's a massive mental hurdle. Let me play through a couple patterns to get you started. So if that one tripped you up, don't sweat it. Here's how you fix it. Don't try to link the whole thing together right away. First, just practice ascending through your minor patterns until they're automatic. Then practice your major patterns until they're the same way. And once both halves are smooth, then we glue them together. And slow it down if you need to. And just keep working it until it clicks. And for the final level of our final challenge, we're going to set your creativity free, but with some restrictions. The task, you're going to have to solo for 60 seconds over a simple 1-5-6-4 progression in the key of C. The rules are, you got to play a lick, and then you have to skip at least one pattern to start your next lick. And each new lick has got to start on a different string. Now, this is all getting into the subjective, but you know how to be honest with yourself. If you hesitate, you get lost, or you break a rule, you don't get the point. I'll play around to show you how to navigate those restrictions. Let's do this. So that's all 5 levels: memorization, fluency, freedom, application, and artistry. And however you scored, here's what I want you to walk away with. The first 2 levels, memorization and fluency, well, that's just the price of admission. That's not the end goal. The goal is the steps that came after. Being able to take this scale and actually say something with it. Make music, not just regurgitate patterns. Remember what I said at the start. Familiarity, it's not mastery. If you can't use a scale, really use it, all you've got is some information. It's not knowledge yet. Knowledge is being able to do. If you breeze through levels 1 and 2 but got stuck on levels 3, 4, and 5, well, it's really not a failure. It's good information. Now you know exactly where to put in your reps. If you got stuck even earlier, better yet. Now you know exactly where to start. Either way, you've got real practice you can go and do. It's not just vague noodle more advice. It gives you actual specific work to do on the spots you hesitated. That's how you turn familiarity into mastery. As always, thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, go pick up the guitar, work hard at it, but have a lot of fun. I'll see you next week.